Welcome to Lisa Does. I'm Lisa, and today we're going to make this block that I'm calling Up and Away. It's a 16-inch block, and it has a lot of seams and corners in it, but together we can do it. Why don't you join me? Thank you. We're going to start our block with the center unit right here, which is a square and a square. And to do that, we're going to need one 4.5-inch light color square and four 2.5-inch dark color squares. And I've drawn a line from corner to corner on the dark colored squares. We're going to place these dark colored squares on the corner of the light colored square with the diagonal line going toward the edges. And we'll start by doing two corners. We've sewn these two pieces on directly on the drawn line, and now we're going to fold them over to check to see whether they have good coverage. And they do, so we can trim them up and sew these two on the other side. We've now sewn these two onto the white on the line that we drew. We can fold them back to check. And as you can see, they cover the corner. So let's trim them off using a 1/4-inch seam. And now we have our square and a square finished. Next, we'll work on these 12 flying geese units. We're going to make them using the 4 at a time flying goose technique, but you can absolutely use any technique you wish. To make them 4 at a time, we need to have 3 5.5-inch pieces of dark fabric and 12 pieces of 3-inch light fabric with diagonals drawn across all of them on the back side. We'll place the light fabric on top of the dark fabric, like so, with the diagonals pointing across from corner to corner. And then we'll pin them in place. If you place the pins far enough away, they can stay out of the way when you're sewing. All 3 of your squares should look like this. Next, we sew a 1/4 inch away from the line on each side. Once we have these trimmed apart, we can work on the other side. Right, now we have these sewn with a seam on a 1/4 inch away from each side of the line. We can take our pins out and trim these right down the line that we drew. Let's press these open and we'll see what we have. And I'm back. What we have now are 6 of these heart shapes. Our next step is to pin these little guys to the heart shape. Like so. Do that for all 6. We're all set to go. Our next step is to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of these lines. And now the other side. Let's take our pins out, and then we can cut them apart. When I cut fabrics from a cutting list, I generally cut the largest pieces first, and then I can use what's left over from cutting the largest pieces to cut any smaller pieces. That helps save me fabric. Okay, we'll cut along these lines now, and when we turn this out, we have a flying goose unit. Just like that. So let's cut all these apart and then press them. Before we move on, let's trim these geese units. The measurements that I give make them slightly oversized, and trimming them is a little tedious, but it gives the best results. Our first step is to measure a 1/4 inch from the tip here and trim that off straight. Then we measure 2.5 inches from top to bottom. Our next step is to trim 2.25 inches from the right side to the left. From the center to the right side. And finally, 4.5 inches from end to end. And there you have it, a perfectly sized flying goose. I'm going to take these over to the cutting table so I can cut them more quickly, and I will meet you back here. I'm back. We now have 12 trimmed flying goose units. Before we set these aside and work on the corner units, let's join these together in sets of 3. Take our 2 units and flip them over and then we can send them through. We want to do this for the first 8 units. As you can see, the corner unit on this one was a little bit shy, and I am going to rectify this by just lining up the rest of the flying goose unit here and then sewing as if this were all the way to the end. So we're going to be a little bit shy on that seam allowance, but that's okay. There's still plenty left in there. I'm turning these over to sew them so that I can be sure to sew just this side, maybe one thread's worth, this side of outside of the point right here, and that way we won't miss our point. Open them up, and now we can put the third one on. Open, line up, flip, and sew. Here we are. I have our flying goose units set together in sets of 3. And they're all ready to go into the block. Our next step is to work on this corner unit. We need to make 4 of them, and we'll start by making these 4 half square triangle units. First of all, we have 2 color 2 7/8 inch squares and 2 light 2 7/8 inch squares. The light ones have a line drawn diagonally, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the line on each one of these, going in both directions. Next, we cut these across right on the line we drew. Squirrels. We'll open these up and trim off the dog ears. And here we go. Our next step is to make this little square with the 2 triangles on either side of it. We do that by laying the square out, putting the triangles on either side. When we sew these, what we're going to do is take the square, fold it over onto the triangle, and line up the square corners. We'll do that for all 4. All right. Now we add the other corner. We set it like this. We turn this corner up, line it up, and sew. Press that open, and there we go. Trim off this little dog ear down here. Excuse me. And we have 4 units that look like this. Next, we take our 4 5/8 inch triangles. They were 4 5/8 inch squares that I cut in half. And we line it up together with this, with our completed unit, and sew from corner to corner. Right along that edge. When we open them up, we have our corner unit. I've trimmed all the dog ears off. Get these out of the way. And now we can assemble our corner unit just like a 4-patch. So we'll assemble these 2 pieces first, and then these 2 pieces. And we can leave these 2 pieces together. There we go. Next, we'll press these open toward the white. And we'll sew them together like this. And we open this up to find our lovely corner units. Now we'll lay this out the way that we need to assemble it. We're going to assemble this just like any other 9-patch block. Okay, now we need to sew our columns together. And here we go. Let's put this guy on the wall and see how it looks. And here's our finished out and away black. It's 16 inches square and has 73 pieces. Yes, it's involved, but it comes together so nicely. I cut mine from yardage, but I think it would also be great scrap buster. Let me know what you think, and like and subscribe to see more quilting content. See you next time.